Have a bit more energy now, a bit more awake. First of all, I'd just like to thank you for this wonderful opportunity to talk to you all. It's good to see so many smiling faces. But to start with, I'd like to introduce you to my teacher, who's been quite rightly introduced, but she's my partner and, well, above all, my teacher. This is Naljorma Dreame Kandro.
And may I introduce you to my partner, my teacher, Ngakpa Samten.
So far it's been a wonderful day. It's been really quite wonderful just to watch how such a diverse group of people are enjoying each other's company. Now, for me and Dreame, this is a shining example of citizenship in action. Open appreciation of each other, despite, or perhaps even because, of our differences. Now, this is a global perspective, rather than one based on ethnicity, nationality, culture, or whatever grouping we choose to subscribe to. For example, I'm British. Dreame is German. I come from a very poor, working-class family, where pubs, football and television counted for culture. Dreame is much more sophisticated. It comes from a much wealthier background. So culturally, we are very, very different. We speak different first languages. So misunderstandings occur. But despite this, and because of our practice, our love for each other is continually growing. And I can now even enjoy ballet and Bach. And Dreame is captivated by some television dramas and films. This doesn't mean that life is without its own dramas for us. However, our challenges serve to deepen our understanding and bring us closer together. Now, this is because Buddhism and all its practices develop self-awareness, which is getting to know oneself. As this takes root, we get to know how much there's a barrage of thoughts, emotions, concepts, definitions affecting our day-to-day interactions. Fortunately, we have a point of choice. We don't have to follow the patterning that we've set down for many, many years. And this point of choice is between an emotional trigger and the response. Again, for an example, I could become very irritated by the way that Dreame packs the dishwasher. I could repack it the correct way, my way, muttering under my breath. I could go to Dreame and teach her the right way of packing a dishwasher. Or I could just accept that she's packed it according to her own equally valid criteria and let go and appreciate a different style of dishwasher packing. Now, this may seem trivial, but so often our interactions are dogged by self-cherishing, self-protective strategies. And there's a failure to remember that existence is inseparable from the well-being of everyone and everything, everywhere. Citizenship is a little like this. It's an active decision. Individuals choose how to relate to the world. From a Buddhist perspective, with open awareness and active appreciation, citizens become naturally kinder, creating well-balanced communities. This global type of citizenship could be defined as, well, there's 3 points here. I'll read them out, make sure I get them right. A global citizen adopts an international perspective, rooted in values of tolerance, understanding, and makes a positive contribution to society. A global citizen values and affirms the cultures of others, whilst appreciating and understanding their own. They then understand their perspective in relation to others. Now, this enables them communicate, live harmoniously with those of different viewpoints and perspectives. And a global citizen also carries a sense of responsibility for others and for our planet. From this perspective, the practice of citizenship comes down to individuals and their relationships. This begins with one's relationship to oneself, and from there expands outwards to family, community, and environment. And on that note, I've finished my half, and I'll pract you over to Dreame, who will elaborate a little further.
Yeah, maybe.
Thank you.
So when I walked in the room, or before we all met, some people came to me and said, "Oh, what religion are you representing? I have never seen this kind of robes." And this is because mostly we know in Buddhism in the West as a community of monks and nuns practicing in monasteries, and preferably we know this from Asian countries, so we don't really know how people practice in the West Buddhism. So we are coming from a different tradition. We are coming from a tradition of householder lineage, which is not a modern invention. It actually has existed also. Our lineage comes from Tibet, so it has existed since the 9th century. So we are not doing something new. So we are non-celibate practitioners who live their lives in the middle of society. So we are dressed like this here, but when we go out in our everyday work, we dress normal clothes. So we practice and live as individuals, couples, and families. And so what we actually do, we embrace life in all its complexity, and we try to transform the difficulties we meet in our lives into understanding and compassionate activity. And the view of the lineage we come from is a very uplifting one, because it says that everyone is beginninglessly enlightened. So we just have to find back to where we actually come from. And so coming back to the idea that Buddhist practitioners start first working with their own agenda. So what Samten just described, that we have to kind of like be aware of how we are and how we react and what pushes our buttons and how we might be able to stop having our buttons pushed. We then are also acting as parents and being examples for our children. We had this before. So let me quote our lineage holders of our tradition, of our personal lineage, who say, "Family environments which exemplify kindness, openness, and an enthusiasm for life are needed for there to be peace and harmony in the world." We heard this before. "For these qualities to exist as examples for children, men and women need greater respect and appreciation for each other." So this brings me to, I think, one aspect which hasn't been really presented. So it's good after all these many talks that there might be a little new hint. Because we want to go back there where happy family starts with two people falling in love. And what this has to do with citizenship, we might see. So what happens when one falls in love? When one falls in love, one discovers a whole new world of flavors, opinions, life circumstances, friends. So we go to this example again. So we already heard that our backgrounds are differently. So Samten actually, as he said, already started to listen to classical music, going to concerts and ballets. But then he's also started to eating Bavarian cuisine, because I've been living in Bavaria. And you should see him if he's not wearing robes. He's mostly wearing Bavarian-style clothing, because that's the clothing he found really fits to him. So we've just been coming back from Germany, and he bought a new nice Bavarian vest there. So he's buying more Bavarian than I do. And with me, it's also it has been quite innovating coming over and live here. I'm only living here since one and a half years. So I started, because Samten is a very passionate gardener, I started spending periods of time on a field in the middle of nowhere, living in a yurt, only with cold water for a shower and a compost toilet. I don't know if everybody tried this, quite a nice experience. And being in Wales, this also includes getting very wet and muddy, which, yeah. And I learned a lot listening to birds, recognizing animals, knowing plants by name, and I discovered the pleasure of food preserving. So what this means, we both also had to stretch our limits of comfort, because I'm a very organized person, and sometimes has a bit more of a chaotic approach to life circumstances. So what I'm trying to tell here is that this power of being in love really opens our perception. So we naturally become curious. We are inspired from each other. We are enthused to see the world through different eyes. This is such a potent way of being in the world. And so one is naturally inclined to be kind and open, and one wishes to make the other happy. Not just for oneself to be happy, but to wish the other to be happy. And the good thing about this is you don't have to be a Buddhist to do this. So we all know this. We call this courtship behavior, and we naturally know how this feels like and what we need to do for it. And although we have a specific teaching in our lineage which enables couples to stay in love forever, courtship is naturally experienced by anyone who is in love. And because it's a natural insight that sparkles through being in love. For this to continue, one simply has to maintain courtship behavior, actually. That's it, that's all. And I want to quote something which is also from our lineage holders, and I find this is a very interesting idea of being a citizen. Courtship behavior is where the best of human behavior is displayed. Such behavior is a true depiction of the best of humanity. As humanity is made up of individuals, there is no choice other than to become the best version of oneself. So when kindness and openness and enthusiasm for life form the atmosphere in which children grow up, this supports the way they walk through the world. They're more likely to be happy people, open and caring, with a curious attitude towards differences in view and opinion, and the natural wish to remain friendly and find solutions for problems which include everyone and everything everywhere. So, last page. And the summary. So what starts as quite a personal project of somehow becoming more transparent to oneself and really understanding how one functions, how problems arise in oneself, it leads to the joy of awakening. So it's a joy which coming if we don't have to have every button pushed, and we can just be more open. And that automatically leads to the wish to be of benefit to whomsoever, in whichever situation we happen to be. As kindness and openness continue to deepen and grow, they replace self-centeredness and self-protection. And they cannot be contained and inevitably spill into other human associations in terms of warmth, humanity, and intuition. And what from there everybody does might be very, very different. The way we are living citizenship. It's just every encounter. But then it might also be that your preference is go to political meetings or whatever you like to do, whatever your personal quality and talent is. You can just go with it and make wherever you are an inspired and better atmosphere, like you said before, Gemma, like this tuning into each other and letting oneself be a bit in the the background and the needs we have. Yeah. So the last thing I've written here is the fundamental appreciation for life ripples outwards into every aspect of reality, encouraging a natural responsibility for individuals to engage in activities for the benefit of themselves, their beloved and their children, expanding ever outwards to include everyone and everything everywhere. Thank you.